Okay, folks, another evening video. Not sure if I'll have to re-record this when I, get home. So I've been putting in significant overtime at work. And I'm sure, that kind of thought crossed my mind as I record this video that it's not related to work, but related to subscriber levels on YouTube. I'm sure a lot of folks who have, unsubscribed, if it wasn't like some sort of automated thing or whatever, a shadow ban or whatever you want to call it, if it's something, active, it's probably because, I know I've been rambling on lately talking about stuff that has something to do with Nofap, and it's really, life at this point. But I kind of think that's sort of I think that's the point of any of this. Eventually you want to get to a point where you're really not, actively invested in discussing those kinds of issues. You want to get beyond it, And I've honestly found that for me to, and I'm sure you probably can't see me, I don't have any lights on in my car right now, and it's about 6:30, so it's kind of dark. But maybe when I get home, if I have the last few minutes or whatever of the video, I can turn on the light and better visibility, you'll know who's talking to you. I've found that in order to get ahead on any of this sort of stuff, it's sort of I have to be focusing my energy, my time on other things. And perhaps that's something I can say in this video that's Nofap related. A lot of folks will ask, how do I get to this day, or how do I get that far doing, this whole process? And, truth be told, you honestly have to get to a point where you're honestly, not thinking about it. And the easiest way to do that is really to be doing something else. Whether it's, you're consistently working out, or you're studying for a class, or you're grinding away at work, making that money, paying your bills, you're working your way out of debt, whatever it may be, you got to have some sort of mission. And there's a danger in not having a mission in life. And I could use Nofap as an example, insofar as you don't got that mission, you're that much more likely to relapse, or just to stay in the same old routine, just because, oh man, look, there's an ambulance going across. Dang. Kind of crazy how I'll be talking like this, and then in the midst of this, something does kind of, so it's distractions dropping out of nowhere. But anyways, I really need to make this point. What was I saying? Essentially, if you don't have a mission, and in life, Nofap, I can use as an example right off the bat. You're that much more likely to either A, relapse, or B, get stuck in the same old funk. And that, to those of us who have taken up Nofap, or have made that part of our our character, our sort of lifestyle, that aspect of it. If people ask, if they were to ask an honest question, do you watch that kind of content? You would just be no, as far as that's concerned, I'm Nofap, or I'm on Nofap. For those of us who are in that sort of demographic, PMO is a big issue. But there are worse things that can happen, and I'm really sounding Midwestern here, given that I'm from there. But there's that whole you can find it on YouTube. It's kind of a funny video, how to talk Minnesotan, and they'll say things could be worse, or can't complain, or that sort of thing, as opposed to saying that they're doing good or great. Be kind of well, can't complain, or it could be worse. And it's as much as that is sort of a colloquialism, it is really a idea to sort of keep in mind. Because there are way worse consequences of not having a mission in life. I know with a lot of folks, they honestly want to get into sort of really deeply personal details. And I hope if I have to re-record this, I can catch this sort of this, this moment, if you will. But again, but I oftentimes think of like my uncle. He didn't really have a mission in life, and as a result, he ended up sort of, you could say, falling with the wrong kinds of people, and ultimately, he ended up marrying this really, psychotic individual. And depending upon who you talk to in the family, like, they feel like that she was literally or figuratively like the cause of his early death. He died at 47, and it was back in 2011. And I mean, it was right around the time that all this sort of stuff started happening with my mother and sister, their health problems, being, basically hanging between life and death and being in and out of the hospital. That whole decade started right around then, and it was like, and on top of all of that, my uncle passed away. And I think the biggest thing that he could have had control over, we don't have control over everything in our lives, but one thing he could have had control over was his mission in life. And I think one of the problems is that, for instance, he didn't have a mission in life. His wife and his kids, his family, they became that mission. And once that sort of went kablooey, so to speak, and obviously, like, I don't know all the details, but once that went kablooey, it was kind of like he didn't have a mission, and he fell into this downward spiral. And I wish I'd been a little more cognizant of things, not maybe not dealing with my own problems, but like if I'd overcome them far earlier, maybe even been quote unquote red pill aware, or whatever term you want to use for it, because maybe I could have intervened. But at the same time, like, if you're talking to someone who doesn't have a a mission in life, it can be really, really hard to help them. And honestly, like, to sort of dovetail back or loop back around to the whole Nofap topic, I'd honestly have to say, like, that's sort of my big takeaway at this point in this whole process is, like, see, if I didn't have some sort of mission, I mean, I know I would probably, I would in all likelihood, relapse. There'd be a very high likelihood of me having, already relapsed if I didn't have some sort of mission. And for me, it honestly has to be multi-layered, because there are going to be setbacks in different aspects of your life, but if you at least have something going on, something going forward, you may have just paid off a student loan, but maybe you got a bad quiz score, and obviously, like, you're not failing the class, you're not getting too low of a grade, but maybe you have a little bit of setback there, or maybe you figured out how to get your health right, your weight right. You lost 10 pounds, let's say, but maybe you couldn't pay as much on the student loan this time around, or whatever. You got to have different things going on in your life, sort of, many fingers and many different pies, or many irons in the fire, so to speak. Just in case, you're kind of spreading out the risk. You're spreading out you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, and having sort of a multi-level or multi-aspect, mission in life, which ultimately boils down to sort of building yourself into that kind of person you want to be in, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, however long it takes, like getting to that, becoming the best version of yourself, and that's sort of that's sort of the central crux of the, of this process after a certain point, because after a certain point, like cold showers, running, lifting weights, whatever it is, fasting, whatever it is that you're doing to sort of, get yourself out of that state of mind where you'd be drawn back to PMO, like that stuff, at least in my experience, it has sort of worn off, and if you don't have anything beyond just those, tricks, if you will, you're not really gonna get anywhere. It's almost like if you were, I don't know, trying to get the girls, you guys obsess about that, trying to get the girls, and all you knew was like pickup lines, and you hadn't actually gotten your act together and made yourself into basically a better man, if you will, stronger, faster, more competent, more capable. You hadn't developed your creative intelligence. You hadn't gotten your act together. You hadn't, built up a career and a solid life, a frame that you operated with, and that was of your own design, your own construction. Like, maybe the lines will work. Maybe the girl will, want to get with you, whether, it's something short term or something longer term. But, it's almost like eventually the mask falls away, and it's kind of like, well, here's this guy who he really is. He's a not well put together kind of a guy. He's, his life's a mess or whatever. And then, this is where a lot of these other problems come from. If you don't actually have something solid and real behind, all these little tricks, it'll end up backfiring to one extent or another. Sometimes it might not be as, dramatic as some of the horror stories, but, it's kind of like that with Nofap. If you don't really have something you're truly going for, like, I think, people probably know about Jordan Peterson. Love him, hate him, feel different about him. I think one point he made, and he was talking about, like, his experience with, like, helping people get over, like, substance abuse, disorders, or addictions. It was like one of the things I think it was him who said this, that you have to have something that is so not just valuable to you, but it's like it's almost like you want it more than. I'm sort of I'm paraphrasing what he said, but it's almost like you gotta want this thing almost as much as breathing in some sense, to the extent that it's like you would lose that thing if you were to relapse. You gotta have something that's like, okay, this is why I'm not gonna go back. This is my, I guess, to use Fitzgerald Brown's expression, this is my why, but not in a nebulous sense, like it should be concrete. And that could be a job, it could be a relationship, it could be, and honestly, like, I would say don't go with relationships being your why, because human nature being human nature, life being life, you have enough experience of life, that those things do not tend to last, or at least they don't last as long as you like them to. And eventually, one way or another, they end. It's kind of like if you're sort of betting your entire life on that, I'd say you're setting yourself up for failure. But if it's sort of like your career, your job, your health, heck, even just something as basic as like your happiness or your sanity, like, okay, I don't want to lose this thing, so therefore I'm not gonna go back to that bad habit or that bad that addiction. I'm gonna break it because I don't want to end up dealing with losing that thing. And for me, that's what I would like kind of sum up under the title, like, your mission in life. You don't want to lose out on your mission in life, so therefore you're not going to go back to PMO or whatever. But yeah, I'm driving home right now. So I've gone through about 14 minutes or so of recording, but I had to go get gas for my car. I filled it up. Fortunately, right now I'm having to use one of my credit cards. It's not something I like to do because I harp on and on about, I'm going to get out of debt, I'm going to pay off my debts, but something that I will have to not only like figure out, but not even like figure out intellectually. I have to figure it out sort of emotionally, because you can't be paying off debt and getting yourself out of debt whilst also creating more debt, And one of the problems I've had is like I get so emotionally invested in getting out of debt that it's almost like I look at those student loans, for instance, and I want to pay them off, so darn much, and not just because they're debt and debt is slavery and all this other kind of almost like generic platitude type stuff, but because because of what a lot of those loans represent to me. I look at the dates that they were dispersed, and I remember what was going on in my life, and it's almost like I'm literally paying the dues, paying for my sins in some sense, and I'm not like getting religious here. If you want to take it that way, that's your own prerogative. But I'm being poetic in a sense. It's almost like I'm paying my dues, paying my paying for my own crimes or sins or my screw ups, and each of those that I get paid off, it's almost like I feel a bit more free of that. Like, okay, because it's like I have to go into work and early. I got to deal with coworkers who are sometimes hostile. I got to deal with a boss who can sometimes be hostile. I have to deal with the stress and the strain, even some of the times the physical exertion of my job and the hours I got to put in, and it's sort of like I'm paying not only in the sense of dollar signs, but you think of each dollar you earn, it's kind of like a bit of your life you gave up for that, in exchange for that unit of currency. And it's almost like I'm paying with that, and I eventually want to get to a point, and by eventually I mean ASAP, where I'm not paying for stuff that I did in the past, but where the money is stacking up, and not just so I can have an emergency fund that I almost immediately empty because I have some emergency, but where once I get that in place, then I can go to building up wealth. And honestly, given that I don't have a wife and kids, I'm kind of looking at it almost like from a perspective, I guess similar to Aaron Clary's, where it's almost like, he uses more more colorful language. I'm just trying to avoid putting that out there. I know he does sometimes sort of refrain from that because he wants to get the message out, but it's almost like having enough money that I could just walk away from all of this all this rat race and grind and go do other things with my time. And to that end, I kind of look at it in terms of, okay, how much passive income would I have to have in order to be able to just walk away from it all? And if I just wanted to vegetate, in my room for an entire week, or heck, even an entire month, that I could, go do that. And obviously, I would get bored and I would be doing other things. I'd probably be making more interesting videos than just, me vlogging, especially me vlogging in the dark as I'm driving along in the evening going home. I'd probably be making way more interesting stuff, in those cases, in that case rather. A lot of it because I just would have the time and the energy again. I wouldn't be having to sort of, wear many hats and juggle all these different responsibilities. I just would focus on one or two things at a time. Which, even right now, I have to focus on things. It's kind of like focus or fail, but yeah, it's kind of like wanting to get to that sort of state of being. But given that I'm getting paid tomorrow, I'll get to chip away at that. Hopefully significantly more. I think I did get a little bit of overtime, and I think for this paycheck, but for the upcoming paycheck, I'm definitely getting in way more overtime because last night I stayed at work and I got a bunch of stuff set up for the next day for the other folks, so they were able to get some work done. But I ended up staying 6.5 hours overtime, plus the 5 on the weekend, and then there was 2.5 more today because I had to do some maintenance stuff on 5S, all that sort of stuff. So I may end up running over more overtime tomorrow. Maybe if they really need somebody to come in on the weekend, I'll sign up for that and I'll be there to do that, because the more money I can make, the faster this will go and the less painful it'll be. Because like I said, every time I'm making these payments, I am literally and figuratively paying for my screw ups from back in my 20s, and I kind of see this also with other members, tongue tied, other members of my family where, we all made our dumb decisions, and in one way or another, we're all kind of like paying for those decisions that we made, during that last decade. I'm trying to be the tip of the spear, so to speak, and really, hurry up the process on my end. Be the first person to cross that sort of, that finish line for that race of, getting debt free, getting my money right, getting a graduate degree in engineering, etc., etc. At the very least, for myself, but for the others to kind of set an example of showing, that, hey, it's possible. It's possible if you're willing to do the work and if you're willing to take ownership, for your life. And obviously, I still have thoughts about my dad every day. I know, there are folks on this channel. You can see me now. I know there are folks who do follow this channel who have stuck around, long term, watching my videos and that sort of thing, and commenting and all that, who do care, because obviously my dad's a good guy, ultimately, but I also know that folks at work, they obviously don't care. A lot of other people don't care, and it's kind of like I've got to get to a point where I can actually be able to act, and act effectively on my own concerns for my father, and also for my mother and my sister, but in such a manner that I'm not impairing myself, where I'm still operating, you could say, in my own frame. But anyways, what's the plan for tonight? The plan for tonight is, let's see, take a nice shower, relax a little bit, but I gotta figure out my schedule for the remainder of the week and like what I'm actually gonna do and be reasonable as to what I can actually get done. Because I need to bounce back from that sort of wake up call that I had with that quiz. But I also gotta be ready for tomorrow because, lights on. Because I know I'm gonna be working with some of the coworkers who I've had some issues with, and also there's the fact that I'm at this point. I've been there long enough where some of the processes I've been trained on, I've been doing them enough they can consider me qualified for. So they're mostly just me sitting back and like watching me do the process, and then I'll get signed off on it to do that stuff like on my own. So if I get assigned, I can just I can hit the ground running, and I can verify others or train other people on that. But again, I'm trying to squeeze out enough paychecks so that I can just pay off these loans, and after that, we'll see what we're gonna do. Hopefully, by the time I get that done, there'll be some sort of new normalcy in the world, and I can actually start living again. And maybe I'll be able to make more interesting videos where I'm not just talking about the same old topics again and again. But anyways, I'm gonna go head back in, or head in. Maybe I'll get some food, but yeah, head in and just go about my evening, and hopefully get to sleep at a decent time. So I will see you folks around. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the support, and take it easy. Bye-bye.